Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder, and today we're doing another pickup video, and not necessarily unexpected, but I wasn't expecting to have another one so soon. My last pickup video I was talking about how I was kind of slowing down with my collecting, just with new game season going on, but there ended up being a Minnesota Retro Gamer Society meetup, which is a local Facebook group of collectors and gamers, and it's, you know, hard to resist picking up some deals at one of those. So I will get to those in a moment here, but I think I'm going to jump in with some new stuff, like new stuff. So first couple things here is I recently did a video, a game preview for a demo of a game that's currently on Kickstarter, though the Kickstarter is wrapping up at this point. And that is Henshin Engine, which is basically it's a platformer with the initial intention of being a physical disc release for the TurboGrafx CD, PC Engine or whatever. It's also going to have a PC Steam port, and one of their stretch goals was also a Dreamcast port, so that's pretty cool. And I had a lot of fun doing the video. Really happy with how it turned out, and if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking it out, because at least you can know about a pretty cool looking game coming up in the future. And then another video that I did was an unboxing for the Stanley Parable Collector's Edition. This was a indie box, you know, one of those monthly subscription box service things. And I've done it before because I just was never really super interested in some of the games, but Stanley Parable is a fantastic game. If you haven't played it and you have a computer, it's not a demanding game, but it is on Steam, and it is just a fantastic game. So great. Just like in the video I said, this is a great game to introduce to people who don't play video games, because it's just so different and so unique, and it's funny, it's engaging, and yeah, so pretty cool. And then some other new stuff. Things I'd pre-ordered a while back and just started kind of trickling in. As I said, we're getting into the new game release season, so I snagged a few things. So the first thing I guess here is going to be the physical release for Shadow Complex. This is a limited run release. Limited Run is a company who basically does physical releases of what were typically digital-only games. They do limited runs, usually somewhere between like 3,000 and 5,000 copies, and for the most part, I haven't been too interested in a lot of what they've put out. Just not games for me, but Shadow Complex was a game I always wanted to play. Really cool, like side-scroller, kind of Metroidvania, but instead of being like a fantasy or a gothic setting, it's actually like futuristic, dystopian, cyberpunk-ish sort of kind of shooter game. Like I said, looked really cool, so I decided to pick that up. Previously, I'd also gotten the Abe's or Oddworld New and Tasty, which was the Abe's Odyssey remaster. And then, of course, I'm super excited for the upcoming Shantae, Risky's Revenge, and Pirate's Curse releases that Limited Run is doing, and couldn't be any more excited for that. And I would imagine anybody watching my stuff would have a pretty good idea about why. So then the next game that I picked up was Assault Suit Lenos. This is another side-scrolling kind of platformer, sort of run-and-gun game. This is part of the Target Earth series. Originally, Target Earth was released for the not the Master System, the Genesis, I was going to say Mega Drive for some reason, but there's also Assault Suit Vulcan, which was called Cybernator in North America, a Super Nintendo game. Awesome game, had a lot of fun. Never actually beat it, but I don't have it in my collection currently. I just never see it for some reason or another, but this is a follow-up or a successor of some sort. Yeah, so it looks pretty cool. I've been hearing some good things about it, and I am really thinking about playing this pretty soon here, because I got kind of like a little gap until some of the bigger release games come out in a couple weeks here, and I played through a few other things, and I figured this would be a good quick playthrough kind of game. And then this one I had forgot that I pre-ordered, forgot it was even coming out, but you know, whatever. and super stoked for this. This is another one that I'm probably going to be playing pretty soon, hopefully, especially with October and, you know, being like the horror month and whatnot. Picked up the PS4 copy of Dead Rising. So this was, of course, originally an Xbox exclusive for the original Xbox. Never had an opportunity to play it. Played Dead Rising 2, loved it. I hadn't played 3. I've heard mixed things, but from some good sources say that 3 is a pretty fun game too. But Dead Rising 1 is kind of where it all starts. It's basically kind of a sandbox game in a way. I think in this one, or at least the second one, I'm pretty sure this one too, you're basically in a mall, and the mall is filled with zombies, and it's, you know, there's story to progress the game, but it's all about making like goofy weapons and goofy devices to, you know, screw around and mess with zombies. Like, for some reason, every time I think when I'm trying to describe like some of the gear you can use in Dead Rising, I think of Dead Rising 2 in particular, but the first one has a lot of this as well. And it is basically getting your guy down in his underwear, putting on like a little police helmet with a little siren on it, riding around on a little girl's bike, and like, you know, taking out zombies. But it's, you know, that's kind of what you're in for. It's not serious. It's a funny game, fun game. So I'm really excited to have that finally. And then I guess the other last new release that I got was Retro City Rampage DX, which also came with a PSP case and manual. No actual game in here because Sony's not printing PSP games anymore, I guess, so they're like, just like, hey, here you go, have it for funsies. But Retro City Rampage DX, kind of think original Grand Theft Auto, or, you know, Grand Theft Auto 1, Grand Theft Auto 2 meets more pixel art sort of thing. Very like retro indie styled game. Heard nothing but great things. And of course, the previous release, this is like the reissue. So the previous release was ridiculous because it was like one of the first like guaranteed like limited PlayStation games. So people bought them up as fast as they could. They sent them into like VG ratings and then got them like slabbed and whatnot, and was selling them for ridiculous prices. So hopefully this drives all those prices down and screw the scalpers because they get what they deserve. But yeah, really excited to have this. So then I think we'll jump into the rest of the pickups here. This is all stuff that I got from the Minnesota Retro Gamer Society meetup. Always a great time, have a lot of fun, meet new people every time I go, get to touch base with friends and acquaintances, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of talking about games, talking about collecting, seeing all the neat stuff that people bring to trade and to sell. And you know, I like buying stuff, obviously. Unfortunately, this time I had like a backpack full of stuff, and it was pretty much just stuff, like nothing good, like pretty much at all. I mean, some of it had, I guess, some like value to it, nothing like over like $10 or anything. A lot of throwaway stuff though, kind of like things that I've just had. And unfortunately, nobody wanted to buy them. You know, not surprised, but basically what I was hoping was by the end, before I was leaving, I could go to the store owner, and this was hosted at We Got Game in Uptown, Minneapolis. Really cool store. First time I've been to this location. The last meetup was at their Mankato location, and really cool store. Had a great selection, some pretty cool stuff. So what I'd hoped when I was leaving, I could be like, hey, I don't want to leave with what I brought. You know, no offer refused, pretty much. And so, you know, I basically just kind of gave up everything I had. I think he gave me like a better deal than I guess I would have expected. So with that, I decided to pick up a couple games. Most of the stuff that I really wanted was kind of out of the range that I got for my trades, because I just got trade value. So, but still pretty happy to pick these up. So I grabbed Earthworm Jim for the Super Nintendo. Never finished Earthworm Jim 2, but I love Earthworm Jim. Had a lot of fun with this when I played it, but like I said, I never finished it, and you know, I want to have this in my collection so I can finally finish it. Funny thing is, when I first decided that, oh, I'm going to start collecting games, one of the first things I actually bought was a complete box Earthworm Jim. I think I got it for like $15 or $20 or something at the time. and that was pretty much kicked off my retro collecting, besides the stuff that I'd held on to over the years. But anyways, then the other game I grabbed was Legacy of the Wizard. I know a lot of people are familiar with this one, but it's a very interesting game. I had this, so basically when I was a kid, one of the first like buy-sell trade kind of like game stores, just privately owned. It was in a mall in the town that I grew up in. First place I'd ever seen like that. And you know, prices for a lot of games back then weren't too crazy. And this was actually one of the first games that I'd bought used. I thought it sounded cool, I thought it looked cool, and then I played it, and I was like, what the hell is going on? It's kind of an obscure game. It's a, you know, side-scroller, kind of puzzler, you know, a little light on the puzzling, but it's just this, like, weird progression, and I never figured out how to complete it to any extent when I was younger, but I've seen videos since then, and I understand how the game plays and whatnot, so it'll be fun to revisit this and kind of see how and if my thoughts change on it when I do that. Then I think I will just jump into the rest here. So I'm going to start out with, I guess, a friend's deal. One of my close friends always is hooking me up with some pretty great deals, and super appreciate it, and you know who you are, and you know I appreciate it, and, you know, just a big shout out, thank you very much for doing that when you don't need to. But I was kind of like, you know, when I got there, we had originally agreed on this deal, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna look around and see what else is here first, you know, just in case, like, you know, the greatest deal in the world comes across. Like, I wanted the funds to be available. But either way, I picked up some things, and then I was like, yep, let's do this. There was a couple other games I was thinking about grabbing, but I decided not to, just because of all the other stuff that I picked up. So the first thing here, surprisingly, I didn't have this, Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. Great game. I don't really think I need to say much about that. I used to have it way back when, so it's good to re-add that to my collection. And then one of the cooler things of a lot of the stuff that I picked up actually is the Super Mario Legend of the Stars Player's Guide for Super Mario RPG. Again, this was from my friend who I got Star Fox from. Gave me, you know, again, like I said, awesome deal on this, and you know, just really cool to have strategy guides, especially for the RPGs that are really great. And it's just neat little collector's items, and these things are starting to get like ridiculously pricey, which is just too bad. But of course, there's the internet and plenty of great guides on there, but it's nice to have that sort of stuff. One of the other people that I bought a few things from, I picked up a couple of Resident Evil strategy guides too that I'll get to in a second. My friend's like, here, just take it. He's like, I'm not going to do nothing with it, and got those other Resident Evil ones. Have another Resident Evil one. So he gave me the Resident Evil 4 guidebook for the Wii. I don't have the Wii Resident Evil 4, but I have Resident Evil 4 PS2, so, you know, practically the guide's the same. Never really needed the guide, but I will say this is quite the hefty guide, you know, compared to an RPG. You know, that's a pretty big difference there. So, you know, it's a pretty decent guide, pretty thorough and laid out, so that's really cool, and of course, thank you for that. And then, so a few other things, I guess I'll just keep rolling here. Really cool guy. Talked to him, seen him at a few meetups before, looking through some of his stuff. There's some things that I would like to buy, but just didn't have the funds for it. That, who knows, maybe I'll grab them in the future or next time or something. But found a few things, I was like, cool. I picked up Skitchin for the Sega Genesis. Skitchin basically is road rash on skateboards, and how you basically like progress the fastest is by like grabbing onto bumpers of cars, and like skitching is what it's called. Fun game, used to play a lot with friends like way back when, so it was really cool to grab this. You know, I would have liked to get it complete, but you know, I'm kind of starting to realize that if I wait to find complete Sega Genesis games, that my Genesis collection is never going to get like very robust. So I think I'm giving in, and I'll start buying loose Genesis cartridges, and maybe I can upgrade at some point. But from him, I also picked up the Resident Evil 2 strategy guide. ugly sticker. Maybe I can do something with that eventually, but I used to actually have the strategy guide. I don't really know what happened to it. I think, like, and I talked about this before, like, early 2000s, I kind of did a big purge of stuff that I had, and I threw away all my gaming magazines and stuff, and this might have been with that, but I don't remember. So just really cool to have this again. Great guide. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have known about the extra characters, Hunk and Tofu, which are just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Try playing Resident Evil 2 as Tofu, and good luck with that. And just for funsies, I guess, I also picked up the Resident Evil Survivor strategy guide. Still haven't played this game. I have it, but now I have the guide to go with it. So then, let's see here. So I guess we'll just kind of run through a few random things. Oh, going back to the Earthworm Jim 2, when I was leaving, one of my friends had a tub of Nintendo Powers that I've looked at before, hadn't looked at in a while, and was just thinking about it, and I've kind of really been looking for the Mega Man 3 Nintendo Power with the Mega Man 3 guide in it. It was the only Nintendo Power that I had for many years, and I cherish that thing, and it'd be cool to have it again. You know, I'm usually not like a nostalgia collector, but that's one thing for nostalgia purposes I would like to have. But started flipping through his Nintendo Powers. Unfortunately, he didn't have that, but he did have a couple, and I'm glad that we caught on to it. Mainly because the first issue of Nintendo Power has the part of the Earthworm Jim 2 strategy guide, and the other Nintendo Power has the other part of the Earthworm Jim 2 strategy guide, so that's pretty neat. You know, I need to, not necessarily need to, but I'd like to expand my Nintendo Power collection, because those are really cool magazines, and I used to have some really cool ones. I do have some, but, you know, could have a lot more, I guess, because that was a long-running series. Then, I guess, sticking on the book theme, really cool guy that I've picked up some awesome stuff with, from, over the years. The like Final Fantasy figures that I have that you can see over here, I got them from him. My import Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger soundtracks. He has a lot of really cool like import stuff, a lot of cool figures and things like that. And I've kind of been on like a really big Yoshitaka Amano kick lately. Really just my appreciation for what he has done has just like grown more recently over anything. Not really any big change, but you know, I'm kind of in a Amano kick right now anyway, so I picked up Yoshitaka Amano Final Fantasy Japan. I'm not sure what the exact title of this book is, but basically this is a collection of Amano artwork from Final Fantasy VI. Most of this, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it before, but just great stuff. Like very interesting style, just beautiful work, and of course Final Fantasy VI being one of my favorite games of all time, it's just awesome to kind of have like the book of art of Final Fantasy VI. So yeah, pretty stoked to have this. Great stuff. I've been spotted. So then moving on to the last little bit here, the first game is going to be The Magic of Scheherazade. This is a game that I never knew about. Daria Plays RPGs, or Daria Plays. Her channel, she had talked about this game at some point. I don't remember if she did a video or not, but decided to pick it up. Has some interesting damage to it. I can't see. Yeah, there you go. It has some like weird kind of like bubbling on the top of the cart. The back is fine and everything, but you know, plays fine, works good. Just some weird damage to the front. So got a few bucks off, and you know, it doesn't really bother me that much. So then a few. So these were like some like super cheap, like dollar bin pickups that I got from another person that was selling some stuff. So I nabbed the PlayStation Underground version 2.4 disc. Comes with a few demos, Tomb Raider 3, NHL Face-Off 99, Bugs Life, Game Day 99, Apocalypse, NFL Blitz, Bomberman World, Brave Fence Musashi, and a couple videos, Siphon Filter, and Twisted Metal 3. And yeah, demo discs are always cool to get nowadays. Like I said, much like my magazines, when I did my massive purge way back in the day, I had a huge stack of demo discs, and I threw them all away. God damn it. But yeah, so demo disc. I also picked up Nuclear Strike. Strike series is a series that I've had a lot of fun with. I used to play a lot with friends, Desert Strike and Jungle Strike and so on and so forth. Basically, you just fly around as a chopper, blowing up stuff, saving people. Fun games. Nothing too complicated, but they've kind of always just kind of tickled my fancy, I guess. And then I picked up Road Rash 3D, which is another Road Rash game for the PlayStation 1. This is basically a full-on 3D version of Road Rash, and you know, it's hard to go wrong with Road Rash. So then, let's see, I'm just looking at what I got left here. Grandia 2. Of course, recently, if you watched one of my previous pickup videos, I got Grandia 1 from a friend, and I also picked up the Grandia strategy guide, so I was like, what the hell, I'll grab Grandia 2. I'll get to them eventually. Really gotta try to play through some RPGs, because, man, those things are just, like, haunting me, because they're so long, and I have so many of them, and it's, like, years of gameplay, but, I want to get to them pretty soon here. I really think I'll play probably Trails of Cold Steel next, because just from it being so highly recommended to me, I'd really like to go with something that, you know, will enable me to continue in the series, because Trails of Cold Steel came out, or Trails of Cold Steel 2 just came out, and I've been hearing great things about that as well. So another PS2 game is Fantavision. This is kind of a shooter, light. I don't really know much about it, honestly, but looked kind of cool. Price was right, so I was like, what the heck? You know, sometimes you never know. It's not about just collecting games from the past. Sometimes you gotta kind of take a leap and see what you find. And especially with this game, like, I had never seen, at least I don't think I ever seen this game before. Didn't know much about it. Asked people that were there if they knew anything about it, and everyone's kind of like, no. So it's kind of concerning, although later on, after I got the game, a friend told me that he thought it was a pretty cool game, so that's pretty cool. But, you know, gotta go with that grim, dark, edgelord stuff. Picked up Dark Watch for the PlayStation 2, and this looks like basically like a gothic first-person shooter, maybe along the lines of like something like Painkiller, perhaps. But figured I'd take a chance. You know, it's a Capcom game. I know that's not saying a whole lot these days. So it looks like the last game here is going to be Tales of Legendia, another Tales game that I haven't played. As I've said before, I haven't played much of the Tales series at all. Only really played Tales of Destiny, but I have most of the Tales games at this point. There's still a few that I'm missing, and I will get through these games eventually. There's a few in particular that I'm pretty stoked to play, but you know, RPGs, it's just, for some reason, it's hard for me to commit to RPGs these days. And I haven't even really played that many in a long time, but we'll get there eventually. So then I guess the final pickup for this video anyways, I got a lot of use out of already. I think it's great. And that is PSP to component cables. Basically, this allows you to hook up a PSP to your TV. And what I wanted that for, in particular, was to play the Dracula X Chronicles PSP game that LifeSpiller79 hooked me up with a while back, particularly for Rondo of Blood, the original Rondo of Blood that you can unlock in the game, because the actual Dracula X Chronicles is a 2.5D remake of Rondo of Blood, so it's kind of, you know, 3D polygon characters, you know, with the you know, left to right movement still there, but you can unlock the original Rondo of Blood that was for the PC Engine, or I think it was for something else, but it's slipping my mind. And at the same time, you can also unlock Symphony of the Night, which, you know, isn't anything new to me. I've had that game since it was first released. Love that game. But the cool thing about this Symphony of the Night is that we can finally play as Maria. I know the Saturn version or whatever in Japan, you could play as Maria right out the gate, but we've never been able to do that in America, and I always thought it was really fun playing through as Alucard. I really enjoyed playing through it as Richter. I didn't get the full completion. Like, I forget what Richter's full complete was. I believe it was a little less than Alucard's, but I was pretty high up there. I think I still have my save file, I'm not sure, but pretty stoked to play through as Maria. That's something I've always wanted to do, so at some point here I'm just gonna blast through the game with Alucard as fast as I can, because you have to beat it first before you can play as Maria or Richter, and I'm really looking forward to that. And since I've gotten the cables, I have played through Rondo of Blood, and I do plan on doing a review of it, possibly for October or maybe sometime in the future. But yeah, so yeah, kind of a whole lot of stuff here, a lot of random stuff. Coming up here soon is all the other new stuff and some collector's editions, so who knows. I keep saying it might be a while before my next pickup video, but we'll just kind of see how things accumulate and I guess kind of go for there. So yeah, I guess as always, I would be curious to know your thoughts on some of these games, especially some of the ones I haven't played yet, particularly like the PS2 games and whatnot. But it's pretty cool stuff. I'm really happy with this. It's a lot of random stuff that I wasn't particularly looking for. You know, things like Earthworm Jim 2 I did want, and Star Fox and Skitchin. But, you know, some of these games, sometimes it's fun just to pick up some random thing that you don't really know much about, and, you know, see if you discover, like, kind of like the hidden gem. The word's kind of played out. I don't really like that. But just, you know, a good game that doesn't really get some attention. So we'll see what happens once I finally start knocking through some of my backlog. I've knocked out a few games recently, so that's pretty cool, and, you know, I'm going to keep trucking along. But, yeah, so, of course, let me know your thoughts, as always, and thank you for watching, and I will talk to you next time on the Game Grinder.